Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to episode 75 of EDH Commander Challenge, our first episode of 2019. I'm your host, BT. Hope you guys had a great holiday season and New Year's with all your family members and friends. Hope you had lots of delicious food, shared many gifts, and made many memories. Speaking of memories, thank you for making those with us as well. Our family has grown to 850 subscribers. We're getting so close to our goal of 1,000. So thank you guys for the support last year. We could hope to continue to make new memories with you guys for 2019. Now, I do apologize for this episode coming out a little bit late. I kind of hurt my back falling not once but twice on the same day, literally heading to work, when I fell outside of my apartment rushing for the bus on a big sheet of ice, almost like something out of a cartoon. It was so painful. And then when I got to work, the sidewalk had not been salted yet. Bang on there as well too. I had to take a couple of days off work because my back felt like it was on fire. So I do apologize once again for the episode being released a little late. Thank you guys also for the kind words and the comments on here and on Twitter. I'm almost back to 100%, so don't worry. Also, don't forget, we will be having our 800 subscriber special later this month. I cannot wait to show you guys that. But for now, without any further ado, let's get started by having a look at the opening hands for our first episode of the year. Let's go. First, I'm playing my Jund Sek'Kuar Deathkeeper deck and keep an opening hand with Demon Lord Belzenlock, Acidic Slime, Chaos Warp, Life's Legacy, Solemn Simulacrum, a Mountain, and a Forest. And Jimmy is playing his Berg Cromat deck and keeps an opening hand with Dimir Signet, Swiftfoot Boots, Vessel of Endless Rest, Bringer of the Blue Dawn, Hallowed Fountain, Rootbound Crag, and Rupture Spire. With a dice roll off camera to see who would go first, and Jimmy was the winner, so he'll start us off. Let's go! Jimmy plays a Rootbound Crag and passes. I play a Forest, and I also pass. Jimmy plays a Rupture Spire and pays 1 to keep it in play, and passes. I play a Mountain and cast Soul Ring, and pass. Jimmy plays a Hallowed Fountain for his land, untapped, taking 2 damage, then casts Dimir Signet. He then uses it to cast Swiftfoot Boots and pass his turn. For my turn, I cast Solemn Simulacrum and search out a swamp into play tapped and pass a turn. Jimmy plays an Isolated Chapel and casts Bringer of the Blue Dawn for its bird cost and passes. For my turn, I cast Chaos Warp, targeting Jimmy's Bringer. He then shuffles it back into the deck and afterwards reveals Astral Cornucopia, which is a permanent that comes into play but has 0 counters. So in this case, ouchies for Jimmy and booyaka for me. I then move into combat and attack Jimmy with my Solemn for 2. Then I pass the turn. Jimmy plays a Command Tower and then casts his General, Cromat. He then equips it with his Swiftfoot Boots, and he moves into combat and attacks me for 5. Then he passes. For my turn, I play a forest and cast Acidic Slime. I then use it to crush his command tower. Then I pass turn. Jimmy starts his turn by casting Vessel of Endless Rest, placing his command tower he just lost to the bottom of his deck. He then plays an Orzhov Basilica, bouncing his chapel back to his hand. He then casts Terminate, killing my Acidic Slime. He then moves into combat and attacks me with Cromat. I block with my Solemn, which lets me draw a card. Then he passes the turn. For my turn, I play another mountain and cast Nissa, Vital Force. I use her -3 ability and add my Solemn back to my hand. Then I pass the turn. Jimmy plays his chapel again and casts Gideon of the Trials. He uses its ability to grant him an emblem that makes him unable to lose the game as long as he controls a Gideon Planeswalker. He then moves to combat and kills Nissa. Then he passes the turn. For my turn, I recast my Solemn to grab another swamp from my deck and to play tapped. Then I cast Eternal Witness and add my Nissa Vital Force back to my hand. Then I pass. For Jimmy's turn, he upticks Gideon, targeting my Witness so that it can't deal damage this turn. He apologizes to me before casting Return to Dust, removing both my Soul Ring and my Solemn from the game. He then moves into combat and attacks me with Cromat, but shockingly doesn't give it flying. So I block with my Witness. Then Jimmy passes. For my turn, I recast Nissa, Vital Force. I uptick her to untap a mountain, turning it into a 5/5 elemental with haste. I then move into combat, and I kill Jimmy's Gideon with it. During my second main phase, I cast Sensei's Divining Top and pass. Jimmy smiles wide on his turn and casts Rune Scarred Demon. This allows him to tutor a free card from his deck to his hand. He then moves into combat and attacks Nissa with his Cromat, dropping her to 1 loyalty. Then he passes. For my turn, I play a forest and cast Demon Lord Belzenlock. With its effect, I exile Diabolic Tutor and then Llanowar Elves, which are added to my hand, and I am taking 2 damage as a result. Then I cast the Llanowar Elves, and lastly, uptick Nissa to untap a forest and pass to Jimmy. Jimmy starts his turn by casting Venser the Sojourner. He upticks it and removes his Rune Scarred Demon in sort of a blink effect and passes. During his end phase, his demon returns, allowing him to tutor another card from his deck to his hand. I, at the same time, check my top 3 cards with Sensei's Divining Top. For my turn, I play a swamp and cast Diabolic Tutor. This lets me tutor a card from my deck to my hand. I uptick Nissa to untap a swamp. Then, I sacrifice my Demon Lord Belzenlock to cast Life's Legacy. This lets me draw 6 cards. Then, and I pay 4 to cast Living Death. This essentially kills all creatures in play and returns all creatures in graveyards back to play. Jimmy has no creatures, so in response he uses Cromat's Simic ability to place it on top of his deck. So essentially, after Jimmy's Runescar Demon, my Llanowar Elf, and my Swamp that was a creature all leave the field, I return my Demon Lord Belzenlock, Eternal Witness, and Acidic Slime into play. With my triggers, I use my Slime to destroy Jimmy's Orzhov Basilica. The Eternal Witness adds Chaos Warp to my hand. And finally, with my Demon Lord, I add Dictate of Erebos and Burnish Heart to my hand, while the Taiga that was in the middle of those gets exiled. This, of course, causes me to take 2 more damage. I then pass the turn. Of course, I have 12 cards in my hand at this point, so I discard down to 7. During my end phase, Jimmy casts Swords to Plowshares and exiles my Demon Lord, which gives me 6 life. For Jimmy's turn, he pays Wooburg colors to cast Bringer of the Red Dawn. He then equips it with his Swiftfoot boots. Then he upticks his Venser to blink his Vessel and passes. When it comes back into play, he uses its effect to return Gideon to the bottom of his deck. For my turn, I move straight into combat, and I attack Venser with both of my creatures. Jimmy blocks my Witness with his Bringer. After he declares his block before we move the damage, I, however, flash in Dictate of Erebos. Then we move to damage, and Venser takes 2 loyalty damage, while the Witness dies, which triggers the Dictate, forcing Jimmy to sacrifice his Bringer. During my second main phase, I play Bajuka Bog, which removes Jimmy's graveyard. Then I uptick Nissa to untap the Bog. And finally cast Cultivate to search out a swamp into play tapped and a forest to my hand before passing. Jimmy starts his turn by hard casting Muldrifter. This lets him draw 2 cards. He then plays a Glacial Fortress for his land, and then he upticks Venser to blink the Muldrifter and passes his turn. When of course it comes back, he gets to draw another 2 cards. Man, I understand why people like Venser a lot. It's like, man, it's annoying, but man, it's so good. I have to definitely get one for myself. For my turn, I cast Chaos Warp again, this time targeting Venser. After shuffling, Jimmy's top card is Maze of Ith, which goes into play because it's a permanent. I then finally cast my general, Sek'Kuar, Deathkeeper, and I pass to Jimmy. Jimmy pays Wooburg mana again and brings back his old friend, Bringer of the Blue Dawn. I worked so hard to put that back in his deck with my Chaos Warp, and he got it back so easily. Jimmy is the man. He then plays an Azorius Chancery, bouncing a land again, and finally equips his Swiftfoot Boots to his Bringer before passing. For my turn, I cast a Lotus Cobra. Then I play a Forest, which allows me to gain a free black mana thanks to the Cobra. I then cast Liliana, Death's Majesty. I use her -3 ability to return Thunderfoot Baloth that I discarded a few turns ago into play. I then uptick Nissa to untap a forest and make it a creature. I then cast Explore, which lets me draw a card, and then play Thespian Stage for an additional land, which triggers the Cobra and gives me another mana. Finally, I cast Swiftfoot Boots and equip it to my Baloth. I then move into combat, and I attack Jimmy with it. Of course, since I control my general, it gets +2/+2. Jimmy declares no blocks and takes 7 damage. Then, I pass. During his upkeep, Jimmy's Bringer lets him draw 2 extra cards. Also during his upkeep, he pays 2 life to cast Vampiric Tutor, to tutor another card, but this time to the top of his deck rather than his hand, which he then draws as his regular draw for the turn. He replays a land, and then casts yet another Bringer for its Wooburg cost. This time, arguably the best of the 5, Bringer of the Black Dawn. Then he passes. For my turn, I play Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth for my land. I gain a free green mana thanks to my Lotus Cobra. I use Nissa's -3 ability and take my Eternal Witness back from my graveyard to my hand, which I then cast immediately with the free mana plus tapping 2 lands. With her effect, I take Living Death back to my hand. Then I move into combat, and I attack Jimmy with my Cobra, Slime, Deathkeeper, and Baloth. Jimmy uses his maze to untap my Deathkeeper, and declares again, no blocks, taking a hefty 15 damage as a result. Then during my second main phase, I pay 10 mana, and I use 6 to cast and sacrifice Burnished Heart to grab 2 more basic lands from my deck into play. I gain 2 more mana from the lands coming into play, leaving me with 8 floating. It also triggers my Dictate of Erebos, and Jimmy's forced to sacrifice his blue bringer. I then cast Living Death, and pretty much after the board wipe, Jimmy brings his blue bringer back, while I revive my Burnished Heart, Llanowar Elves, and Radha Heir to Keld, who got discarded earlier. I use one of my remaining 2 mana to equip my Radha with the Swiftfoot Boots, and the last to check my top 3 cards with Sensei's Divining Top. Then finally, I uptick Liliana to mill my top 2 cards and make a 2/2 zombie token. Then I pass a turn. Jimmy draws 2 additional cards during his upkeep thanks to his blue bringer again. Then he plays and sacrifices his Wooded Foothills, taking a damage, to grab a Sacred Foundry from his deck into play tapped. He then casts a Ajani, Caller of the Pride, and then brings back another old friend, Venser. Yet another card that got Chaos Warped that he got back all over again. He equips his Swiftfoot Boots to his bringer. He then upticks his Ajani and puts a +1/+1 counter on said bringer. And finally, upticks his Venser to blink his Vessel again and passes. During his end step, it returns into play and places his Muldrifter to the bottom of his deck. For my turn, I recast my general, Sek'Kuar. Then I use Liliana's -3 ability again, and bring back my Thunderfoot Baloth to play once more. I then pay 3 and sacrifice my Burnished Heart for some more basics, which again triggers my Dictate of Erebos, forcing Jimmy to sacrifice his bringer. This triggers Sek'Kuar, giving me my first 3/1 Graveborn token. Sadly, I don't have the official card token. Then I uptick Nissa and untap a mountain to make it a 5/5 creature. Then I apologize to Jimmy and cast Triumph of the Hordes. This gives all of my creatures in play +1/+1, trample, and infect until the end of the turn. I use my last mana to equip my Swiftfoot Boots to my Baloth and move into combat. I attack Jimmy with everything I can, including the Graveborn token, dealing Jimmy lethal infect damage and ending the game. Welcome to Cardboard MVP, where we have a quick look at the...
Chris, how's it going? Do you mind if I join you? Help you out with this bit for the first time?
Jimmy, sure, yeah, no problem. You can jump on in. Go ahead. You know what we do here on Cardboard MVP?
Yeah, pretty much choose the cards that did the most during the game.
Okay.
For each of us, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, tell you what, since you're new to this, why don't you start us off and tell us what was the card that did the most work for you, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it's a toss-up between 2 cards, Bringer or Venser.
Okay, Bringer. Which Bringer in your case?
My blue Bringer. It allowed me to draw 2 cards every upkeep, helped me out quite a bit. And Venser, because, you know, being able to tutor and draw 2 cards a turn is not bad.
It was crazy. I have to say, probably I'd vote for Venser also.
Yeah.
When you had Venser along with your Runescar Demon, I panicked. Because the first thing I expected you to go for was probably Cyclonic Rift, just to bounce everything back to my hand, or something. Actually, for those of you who don't know, I've seen many times people use Venser, Runescar Demon, and an extra turn effect.
Yeah, that works.
And specifically Nexus of Fate. to take extra turns forever and essentially win the game automatically.
If I could have picked one up, I would have probably done the same.
Yeah, I definitely would suggest you picking that up for the future. That would be pretty sweet for that deck.
Oh, for sure. In my opinion, for your side of the field, pretty much blocking me from doing anything would have to be Dictate of Erebos.
Dictate of Erebos?
Well, causing me to not attack you because I was afraid to lose my creatures was kind of bad. So I couldn't really get into it and get after your life points, so...
I partially agree with you on that, only because most of your creatures were flying. So I think you could have probably been a little bit more aggressive. Like one thing
with my commander,
I agree, because you could have potentially made Cromat fly. Mind you, I know I had a Demon Lord Belznug, but I think you got rid of that really quickly.
Yeah.
With the Swords to Plow.
Swords
I think.
to Plow, yeah. So, I searched for it and then I pretty much use it on your 6/6.
Yeah, so I think you could have been a little bit more aggressive, even with that annoying Muldrifter that I think is in every one of your decks that has blue. It's a great card. I'll give you credit, but
and with Venzer, forget about it.
Yeah, you used it
even before I had the bringer.
Yeah, you used it right away. I was shocked. So.
Oh,
yeah, I totally agree. I would definitely say Venser would be number one. My number one, though, would probably have to be Living Death.
Yeah.
Because you controlled the game big time early on. So I had to really go fish for that card with the Demonic Tutor, was it? Yeah, Demonic Tutor. No, Diabolic Tutor actually was the one I think I went for, yeah?
Yeah.
The one for 4.
For 4.
When I went for that, I was desperate. I said there was no other choice because you literally had me locked down. Your general was close to invincible, and not to mention your other creature out there was pretty rough, and I had nothing capable of really blocking. Kept killing all my my planeswalkers I kept bringing out, so I was getting frustrated.
And I ran out of any board wipes or any off the field effects, so I couldn't do much after that.
You guys agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below, and as Jimmy just mentioned, stay tuned because very, very soon the 800 subscriber special is coming. Alright guys, that's it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed watching. Just want to let you know, if you aren't already part of our ever-growing EDHCC family and you want to join in on the fun, make sure you smash the subscribe button and the notification bells down below, and you'll know every single time a new video drops. Now, we do videos every single week, so don't forget as well to like them, share them, comment on them, but most importantly, enjoy them. Shout out to all of our family members, our subscribers, our viewers, if you will. It is an honor and a privilege to do this each and every week, and you joining on the fun with us. Until next time, I'm your host, BT, reminding you to check out all of the videos on the channel. Join our game. It's now your turn. Cheers!